insulated to the frame. Send me a picture later on, and I'll see if I have one. I've got to have something that. Yeah. What's that, Susie? No, the LTV thing is done. We shot the LTV show at 5 o'clock. Yeah, we've given them like 4 or 5 episodes already. They seem to like it. It's on two different channels out there on Long Island. I think it's 21 and 22. They're showing it like 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah, it's going good. So, yeah. It's a little different from this show, so I got to kind of switch gears with certain things. Certain things I can't say because it's not really live there, but it's going good. Yeah, some other public stations, we'll be talking to them about that too. Yeah. No, the show starts in 7 seconds. Talk to you after that.
We're live.
You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abate. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining me tonight. We're down at the starting line, which is brought to you by Motion Pro. Let's see what's coming up on the show. In the next time, try this segment. We'll be talking to you about Japanese industry standard screws, Phillips screws. There is a difference. They look alike. In the Moto Showcase tonight, a 1974 Honda CR250. In the Here's the Problem segment, we've got some great questions that came in from some of our viewers last week, and we've done our best to answer those questions. We've got that coming up. What's it worth? A 1980 Can-Am 350. I think you'll be surprised at the price on this one. Trivia returns tonight. We do have one book left, one Harley book left. We will be playing trivia. Somebody's going to win it. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thanks for joining me tonight. Thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, everyone who helps me put the show together. And thank you, the viewers at home who tune into our show every week. Don't forget, if you are watching the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, please share the show. Tell some of your friends to come and watch Vintage Motocross Q&A. Whether you're on Facebook or, as I said, YouTube. If you're on YouTube, we will have a random share giveaway winner a little bit later on in the show. Don't forget to mention Motion Pro if you're going to do that. Our YouTube channel is going well. We could always use some more subscribers. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can see all of our videos, all of our interviews. You'll get a little alert like this when we're live on the air, and you'll know when the show is on. Also, a great way to watch the show from your couch, from your big screen TV, while you comment from your phone. You can do that anytime, right from the privacy of your couch. Sit back on your couch, watch it on the big screen TV, comment from your phone. It's a great way to enjoy the show. Please keep sending in pictures of your bikes. We desperately need bikes for the Moto Showcase. I love having your bikes on the show. It's one of my favorite things to do. Also, if you have any comments or questions about the show, go over to Vintage Motocross Q&A, go to the inbox and send me a message. I'd be happy to respond to you on anything that might be on your mind. So keep those pictures and all your questions coming. We really enjoy that. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, Motion Pro, Vintco, Racer X, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, Northwest Mako CZ, Sunrise Vapor Blasting, and our newest sponsor, Bill's Pipes. Welcome aboard, Bill's Pipes. I mentioned before about a random share giveaway. I don't think I went to show you the sticker sheet available from Vinco. So keep sharing the show. We will have a random share giveaway winner a little bit later on. I apologize, Jordan, for kind of skipping around that. Now, let's get back to the next time try. This segment, which is brought to you by Vinco. You know, all of your bikes, whether they're Japanese or they're European, they all have a very, very special little difference to them. And the difference is the screws. If you look closely on your Japanese bike, you'll have a JIS screw. It's Japanese industry standard as opposed to a Phillips. They are different when you look close. The depth of how the screwdriver will fit into that JIS screw is different from the way it will fit into your Phillips screw. Jordan has some slides here, and I'll show you a couple of the other differences. Now, you'll see in the next slide that there it is, Jordan. Here's a really good picture of what the screwdriver tip looks like when you have a JIS screw or a Phillips screw. And if you look closely, you can see how it's a lot pointier and it goes in deeper into the head of the screw on a JIS. Yes, you can get them out with a Phillips, but if you look closely here, you could see where it's not quite as pointy on the Phillips. And when you go to put that Phillips screwdriver into that JIS screw, it's not going to go deep enough into that screw. And sometimes if the screw is a little too tight in there, or it's seized, or it's been sitting there for years, whatever it might be, that's when you always run the risk of stripping out the head of that screw. So you want to make sure, and this is also important if you're using an impact, you know, one of those impact drivers like you use with a hammer where it'll twist that screw out. It's also very, very important when you use that, maybe even more so, because when you do slam that impact, if it's not the right tip in there, it's not a JIS tip, you're definitely going to strip out the screw. So it's really, really a good idea to look closely at what you have. Here's another good aerial view, so to speak, of the way it looks on the top of a JIS screw. It comes just like an exact cross across there. As with the Phillips, you've got that little round circle in the middle where you're not going to get the same amount maybe of torque, for lack of a better word. You're not going to get as much bite on that screw if you're using the wrong screwdriver. So you want to make sure you use a JIS when it's applicable. Also, on your bikes, if you look closely, especially on your Hondas, you'll see a little dimple in the screw just the way you see it here. That tells you that's a JIS screw. Okay? On Hondas especially, it has a little plus sign on there. If you look closely on those bikes, you'll see it, and your other Japanese bikes as well. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, that there is a difference between a JIS and a Phillips screw, and the proper screwdriver or impact tip, if you're going to be using that, would be really, really important to make sure you get the right one. Otherwise, you're going to wind up stripping that screw out. It's also a great idea to make sure you have the right JIS screwdriver when you go to reassemble a bike. There's a good picture of it right there. So next time, try that. In the Moto Showcase tonight, which is brought to you by Preston Petty Products, I've been telling you, send in bikes for the Moto Showcase. You haven't sent them in the past week or so, so I had to put my own bike on. Actually, it's not really my bike. The bike belongs to Jeff Pike, a Northern California guy who gave me a bike to restore, and here it is. So this is a bike we did restore for Jeff Pike, a 1974 Honda CR250, and we took a lot of time and spent a lot of time detailing and coming as close as we can in order to make this bike look as it did from the factory. Yes, I did do the gas tank myself, and there's not a mark on that tank. It's as straight as an arrow. We took some extra time with that, as we always do. Brian Fettigan did a beautiful job with the green and black stripes, as well as the clear coat. Did the same thing on the side panels. All my paint work goes to Brian Fettigan. The pickle and the pipe on the bike were in really, really nice condition. There were some minor dents in the pipe, which we did address once we mounted it up with the proper hardware, which was all restored, polished, and clear zinced. It looked like $1 million. We also did use the original spokes, nipples, and rims to this bike. Everything was polished up to a high luster, and then we brought it down to our plater, Electroplating Specialties down in Hayward, California. We had the rims reanodized, and then we had the spokes done in the clear zinc, the nipples done in the yellow zinc. And I want to thank Tom McAllister from Full Circle Racing for actually lacing these up to me. I've heard it, or I've said it many, many times before, where people have asked, what color black should we use on our engines? I've often said to you, use VHT. brake caliper paint. Great, great quality, heat resistant. Use their primer as well, and you can see the results right here on this engine. That is VHT paint on there, and it came out beautiful. Same stuff was used on the hubs as well. Maybe the next picture, a nice little detail you don't see too often on all these bikes, where the clutch cable is held in by the proper little plastic clamp that goes on there. Again, all the hardware, all the paint, everything came out beautiful on this bike. Jeff absolutely loved it, and it came out, well, just beautifully. And who knows, maybe we'll have some more bikes on the show that actually belong to you folks. This way you can get a cup like this. Compliments of Preston Petty products and Vintage Motocross Q&A. Being I put the bike on this week, I'm going to keep this cup for myself. Well, I hope you enjoyed the 1974 Honda CR250 that was restored for Jeff Pike by me. And don't forget, get over to Preston Petty Products. They got a special this week. They got a shirt for just $21.95. They come in gray, they come in blue, and they're usually $26.95. But Paul Standard, in the holiday spirit of Christmas, has discounted them by $5, $21.95. And Preston Petty Products is looking for dealers, not just distributors. They're looking for dealers. So get a hold of Paul Standard. Go over to PrestonPettyProducts.com. You can contact him through an email there, or just about anywhere on Facebook or on social media. They're looking for dealers. Get a hold of Paul Standard and Preston Petty Products. Here's the Problem segment is up tonight. We've got some questions that came in from our viewers throughout the week, and let's take a look at the first one. And I realized I made a mistake already. I didn't send Jordan the name of who sent this question. It was actually Jeff Kokoski, who was anything but anonymous on the show. Jeff sends in a lot of questions, and he sent in this one this week as well. Now, this is from Jeff Kokoski. What gear oil would you suggest for my 1980 Yamaha YZ250? The manual says 10W40 SE, which is now obsolete. Yeah, Jeff, it is obsolete, but what I would recommend, let me say this, you don't want to use just a regular motor oil anymore. You can use most any oil, and it will lubricate better than the oils that they were recommending from 40 years ago. But what I would really recommend is AMSOIL. They make a great synthetic oil. They make a variety of it in different weights, and they make it in 10W40, just the way the original manufacturer had suggested the weight that you use. Except it is synthetic, and I think you're going to like it a whole lot more. AMSOIL, a great product, a former sponsor of ours, and hello, Russell Waters, if you're watching. But Jeff Kokoski, yeah, that's what you want to use. And any kind of motorcycle oil will work for gears, whether it's Bellrayer or whatever it may be. But I would recommend AMSOIL, and I can tell you it would be better than any regular motor oil that's out there. Thanks for the question, Jeff. Brian Borney, I'm restoring a 1974 Honda CR250. What a coincidence. And I need rear shock insulators. You mentioned RCM in a past episode, but they no longer make them. Now what? That's a really good question, because I've got a couple of more Elsinores here, and I think I've only got one set left myself. So if anybody out there knows anyone who is making the insulators for those shocks, there's a picture of them right there, get a hold of us, because not only Brian does he want to know, but I want to know also. I've only got one set left. Brian, I'm sorry, I have not been able to locate anybody that is making them. Perhaps some of the viewers that are watching will be able to tell us someone who is remanufacturing them right now. I'm going to give Phil Fulmer a call at RCM and find out if maybe he could squeeze in a couple of more sets for me. And you too, Brian. Thanks for the question. Oscar Gayton. I want to use the original spokes on my restoration I'm doing, but the spoke nipples are seized. What penetrating oil can be used? Well, I'll tell you, a really great oil for penetrating is Croyle. That's a really great product. I've used it before. A lot of guys have used it. You always hear people raving about it. But just as important as a good penetrating oil is you want to use the right spoke wrench. Here's a picture of one. It is available from Motion Pro. You want to make sure you get the right size, and they're nice and thick too. Not just like a regular wrench, or heaven forbid you should try and take it off with some kind of adjustable wrench or a vice grip. I've heard people talk about that. Don't do it that way. Get the penetrating oil. You could either just let it run over the wheel, one nipple at a time, however you're going to do it. Let it sit that way. Or Marvel Mystery Oil is a good product too. And I'm going to recommend one other thing, although I don't like to do it. It's not really that great for the environment and difficult to get rid of. A lot of people will mix automatic transmission fluid and diesel, like 50-50. They'll put it in a pan, so there's only a couple of inches in there, set the wheel in there, spin the wheel around, let it sit, couple of hours, maybe a couple of days as they're spinning it, or they'll have a pan big enough, maybe have a tub where you could fill it up a couple of inches and lay the whole wheel in there. Either way, you do want to use a penetrating lubricant. You do want to get the right spoke wrench. And I have also learned that even after the penetrating lubricants and the right wrench, a little heat will go a long way. So maybe get yourself a bottle of MAP gas or a little torch. You could heat them up, and they will come loose. But that is the way to restore a bike, Oscar. I appreciate the question, and I appreciate you wanting to use the original spokes and nipples for that project. Thanks for the question, Oscar.
I'm Steve Wise. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone, Brandon here with Motion Pro, bringing you the Trick New Pro Plug sockets from Motion Pro. The Pro Plug sockets are a very clever design. They're heavy tool steel construction for durability. They feature a slim skeleton design for hard to reach heads and cylinders, and they feature a really innovative retention system. This retention system is mechanical and it's not a rubber grommet, so you're never going to battle between the spark plug and the socket. So the socket is always going to be easy and firm to attach to the spark plug, but also it's going to be easy to remove. So you're not going to have to go fishing in those deep well heads to get that socket out. Now the socket features a couple of different drive components. You can use a 17 mil open end wrench, a 3/8 drive socket, as well as a through axle, right? So you've got a couple of different ways you can use this product. Now we have these available in 3 different sizes, and those 3 different sizes are 16, 18, and 21, available to fit most model motorcycles, V-twin as well as metric. Retail starts at $21.99 up to $22.99, available from your favorite retailer nationwide.
In the What's It Worth segment tonight, which is brought to you by Full Circle Racing, we're going to take a look at a 1980 Can-Am 350. This is, of course, the part of the show where I encourage you, the viewers at home, to type in what you think this bike may have recently sold for. I will tell you this, that it was sold in Middletown, New York on October 25th. And now I'll read to you this brief description that the seller did have. He said that he's owned this bike for a really long time. The last time it was rebuilt was through a Can-Am dealer, and it was used very, very seldom after that. He had to purchase this bike along with a couple of other ones he goes into here in order to make this one complete. But he has some extra parts that go along with it, including a frame and a seat. This bike runs great. It's extremely fast. It has a new back tire. He last rode the bike a little over a year ago. It's been stored inside, starts up very, very easily, and looks exceptionally original to me. Now, I will say this. As far as a bike that may have been sitting around for a while, this bike really, really looks original, and probably would need very, very little to really make it complete. He mentioned something about a rear tire, probably could use a set of rear shocks as well, but everything about this bike really, really looks great. Quite an original piece, if from what I can tell from the picture. So it was sold back in October. It is a 350 1980 Can-Am. It is a dual-purpose bike. How much do you think it sold for? A running Can-Am 350. $2,000, $2,300. This bike sold for $1,350, $1,350, and I think that's one of the best deals I've seen on a Can-Am in quite some time. It is a 350. I thought Can-Ams, I wasn't sure they made a 350, but maybe they did on their enduro bike. I always thought they made 370s, but maybe they made 370s too. Anyway, $1,350 in New York State, 1980 Can-Am. Full Circle Racing still has a great special. Get a hold of Tom McAllister. He will refinish your hubs, bead blast them, change the bearings, do whatever it takes, and get them powder coated for you in either satin black or gloss black. Just $50 a hub, $10 more for the backing plate. Get a hold of Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. Trivia returns, and earlier today I wasn't aware that we had one more book left, but I got a call from Keith Geisner who tells me he has one book left. We are not giving away any bikes. We're giving away a book, and this is the last one. And in the very, very near future, Keith, the prolific pen that he is, will be offering us a new book to give away here on the show. We'll be telling you more about that. But right now, this is for finding number 49. This is the last one. The question is, drum roll please, which famous racer was known as the Rabbit, and why do they call him that? Which famous racer was known as the Rabbit, and why do they call him that? I'll give you a hint. He wasn't an American. Who was he? Who was the Rabbit? Why'd they call him that? 925-234-8181. That's 925-234-8181. Call now. Susie is standing by. In the next segment, have you ever heard of? We're going to take a look at something a little bit unusual. Have you ever heard of? Well, Jordan, what is it? A Tohatsu. Have you ever heard of a Tohatsu? No? I'll tell you a little bit about it while Jordan goes through the sides. The company can be traced back to 1922 when the Takata Motor Research Institute began carrying out research into various forms of internal combustion engines, research and development of high-speed portable engine generators and radio control generators began immediately. These were brought into production in 1930. During 1930s and 40s, Tohatsu consolidated its product line and moved its corporate offices throughout Japan, including Tokyo. Among its products in the 1930s were also rail cars that they made for the Ministry of the Railway in Japan. In 1950, production and sales of motorcycles began. 1955 brought an aggressive growth to Tohatsu capital, and there was a big influx of yen at the time, 150 million yen. Production on a new line of engines had started. Sales offices were established all over Japan, including Sapporo, and dealerships were set out throughout the country as well. In the mid-1950s, the company held the top market share with 22% of all the Japanese motorbikes in the market. 22%. It's a lot of motorcycles in Japan at that time. They also manufactured racing motorcycles and achieved success in Japan and abroad as well. Unfortunately, financial problems led to the discontinuation of Tohatsu, and they ceased production in 1964. But they had a lot of really great success. I saw one of their bikes. Terry Good, of course, has one or had a picture of one on his page, mxworksbikes.com. But that's what we learned about the Tohatsu, quite a rare bike. And we have, now, okay, we're going to do this first. Hang on. Sunrise vapor blasting. You heard me talking about it for months now. Does a really great job out there. Mark Farriester, the bike you saw that I restored a little while ago, had a lot of parts on it that were vapor blasted by Mark Farriester, including the brake pedal, the kickstart, the shift, and the carburetor as well. If it floats, flies, or rolls, you got to get a hold of Mark Farriester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting, no matter what the product is, whether it's metal, aluminum, whatever it is. If you want it clean and you want it done properly, get a hold of Mark Farriester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. I saw last week he had some kind of top end to an antique plane on his video page, on his website as well. So get a hold of Mark Farriester at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. We're going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show. When we get back, we will have the winner of tonight's Random Share giveaway and also the trivia contest. I think he's on the line right now. We'll be right back.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco, keep the ride going.
Okay, as promised, we are back from commercial break, and tonight's random share giveaway winner is Justin Conway. Justin Conway, you are tonight's random share giveaway winner. You will get this beautiful sticker sheet, compliments of Vintco. So get a hold of me, send me your address, and I'll get something right in the mail to you. And we also have tonight's trivia contest winner. Who am I speaking to? This is Joe. You're live on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Who am I speaking with?
Good evening, Joe. This is Robert Curé.
Robert Curé. Nice to hear from you, my friend.
Good to hear you, too. Great show tonight.
Thank you very much. Robert, the question was, which famous racer was known as the Rabbit and why?
Yeah, cars makers, because everyone was chasing him for the national championship.
That is correct, Robert. It was Pierre Cosmakers, and he was, he was the Flying Dutchman. He was something else when he first came to America. All the Americans were chasing Pierre Cosmakers that year, and they nicknamed him the Rabbit.
That's right. I remember the great story that Brad Lackey told about him during that year.
You want to share that story with us quickly?
Quickly, I think it was Brad helped him come over and got everything set up, and there was a little bit of falling out, as I recall. I haven't watched that show in a while. I think it was One Chance to Win, something like that. Yeah. Great show.
It was. And, Robert, I want to thank you for calling in. You did get the trivia question correct. And I'm going to give the phone back to Susie. You can give her your address, and then I'm going to send it to Keith Geisner, who's been so generous with us over the past year with giving away this book. But we'll get you a copy, okay?
Great. Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Joe and Susie.
Thank you, Robert.
And Jordan, too. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Robert Curé. It was nice to hear from him. Now, we can get on with the remainder of the show. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X magazine. Don't forget to see our ad in the back of every issue. Racer X, one of the finest motocross publications on your newsstand and online now. And I'm not just saying that because they're paying me. They're not paying me. We're doing a trade thing. I get an ad, they get advertising on the show. You know how it goes. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. You know what happened? This week, it's actually happened today, December 1st. December 1st, 1970. Fro Daddy is born, Jeff Emig. I don't know how he actually got the name Fro Daddy, but it is Jeff Emig's birthday. He was a three-time AMA Pro Motocross champion, as well as a 1997 AMA Supercross champion. Jeff was born in Missouri. He came up in the Kawasaki Team Green program. He then signed his first factory contract with Yamaha. He rode with them until 1996, when he switched back to Kawasaki. Emig was a standout for Team USA in the Motocross to Nations, riding for our nation every year from 1992 to 1997, when the team went 3-3. Happy birthday, Jeff Emig. Thought you were a great announcer on Supercross as well. Happy birthday, Jeff. Next up, we just had it on the trivia. The Rabbit at Saddleback. Yeah, Pierre Cosmakers. Yamaha's Pierre Cosmakers wins the series-ending Trans Am finale at Saddleback Park in Orange, California. Though it was Suzuki's Roger DeCoster, who scored second in that race, had already been crowned champion of that series for the first time. That was for the first time. Roger would go on to win the Trans Am Series 4 times and, of course, had 5 World Championships under his belt and numerous other Motocross to Nations and Trophy to Nations races. But that day, December 1st, Pierre Cosmakers won at Saddleback. And Bale at Versailles. This happened on December 1st, 1988, in the middle leg of the Paris-Versailles Supercross, and rising French star Jean-Michel Bale proves that he can ride with the top Americans when it comes to Supercross by finishing on the podium alongside Ricky Johnson and Jeff Ward, both multi-time AMA Supercross champions. But yeah, Bale did it that day and came over to America and did a great job too. What an illustrious career Jean-Michel Bale had between motocross, supercross, road racing, and so much more. But that's what happened on this day, December 1st, 1970, 1974, and 1988. We've got some announcements tonight. The first announcement I would like to mention is that we want to welcome Bill's Pipes as a sponsor to our show. Now, this just got put together yesterday. I put a post up on Facebook. We haven't worked out all the details yet of what we will be featuring on the show for Bill's Pipes. We haven't talked about any discounts or discount products or their vintage pipes. So a lot of people have sent me questions. The second I put that post up, my inbox was really going off the hook with people wanting to know if they made a pipe for this, if they made a pipe for that. You got to get a hold of Bill's Pipes directly to find out. I don't really have a list yet. I don't know what they're going to be offering, but I do want to thank Randy Scott for bringing Bill's Pipe on board, and we'll be talking more about Bill's Pipes in the future. Welcome to the show, Bill Severus, Randy Scott, and Bill's Pipes. Excuse me. Vintage Motocross Radio. You don't have to listen to it just on Facebook or on YouTube. You can listen to it on Spotify, Cashbox, Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, and a whole lot of other places as well. Over 50 interviews available at any time. Next slide, Jordan. The LTV. We just recorded another LTV show tonight, right before we did this show live, and it's going really, really well. You can see our shows there on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. It looks a little different from the show you see here on Vintage Motocross Q&A on Facebook and YouTube, but it is basically the same show. And yeah, I want to thank Martin Drew for helping put that together for us, and a very nice gal named Patricia out at LTV. That's on Long Island in the Hamptons. The Potomac Vintage Riders are putting on, well, just about the greatest swap meet you can attend in the middle of the winter in York, Pennsylvania. It is indoors. It's a great event. I've been to it in the past. It happens this year on January 23rd. There is the Potomac Vintage Riders banquet the night before. If you want to attend that, I think you need to get a hold of them. Now, this will be on Sunday from 8 to 3. I will be there. I will be a judge at the bike show. I will have a couple of things for sale, and I'm just looking to have a great time with some of my old buddies like Tom Grimmel, Mark Wunderland, and so many more guys that I know from the old days at the York Swap Meet. I will be there January 23rd. The finish line is brought to you by Northwest Mako CZ. This week, Alan Brown has a special going on, $36 for brake shoes for your Makos that fits all the Makos from 1968 to 1982, I believe. All conical hub Makos, just $36. Get over to Northwest Mako CZ. He's got a lot of good stuff over there. Thank you, Alan Brown, for being a sponsor of the show. Vintage Motocross t-shirts and hoodies are still available with the cold weather coming. It makes a nice Christmas present to get somebody a hoodie. The t-shirts come in gray and white. They're just $19.99. Get them while they last. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available, and Bill's Pipes took advantage of it this week. How about you? We reached over 80,000 people last month. Not 70,000, 83,000, I think it was. There it is, 83,200. Over 20,000 people a week. One day we reached like over 5,000 people from just one day of people sharing the show. Get a hold of me. I'll get you a sponsorship proposal package. You'll get you the same results as Vintco, Motion Pro, and everybody else. 83,000. You can't buy that. You cannot buy that on Facebook by buying likes or making your, however. You're not going to hit 83,000 people. Get a hold of me. I'll make it worth your while. It's been working for everybody else. So that's it for tonight's show. Between the LTV show and this one, I'm getting a little dry. Thank you for joining me on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abadi. And don't forget the LTV show during the week if you're out in Long Island. And you can always watch on YouTube. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, too. Invite people over to our website or to our Facebook page. And hang on, I'll see if he's around. Gino! Gino! Congratulations, Robert Curie. Congratulations, Justin Conway, tonight's winners of the sticker sheet and the finding number 49. But come on, Gino! Come on, boy! Ooh, that's my guy. What about you, Rocco? Can you make it up here too, Poochie? Come here, Rocco. Here we go. Okay, I got both guys here. Anybody got a kiss for the Poochie?